Methods. A research design is used to structure the research and to show how all the major parts of the research project work together to address the central research question in the study. The chapter should begin with a paragraph reiterating the purpose of the study. Here's why we're doing it, and here's how we're going to do it. We're going to select 300 foster youth and send them interviews and surveys via email. I'm your chair. I get that, and I say, well, I don't think all 200 of your foster youth have email addresses. You're going to need to come up with a new method to get the information you want. Because in fact, I'm pretty sure they don't all have email addresses. Yes, ma'am. No. Well, you don't. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, just you get a method. You get a method. No. So you don't have to just stick. I want to be careful with this. You don't have to just choose one method because you may have several factors that you're exploring, and it may require a couple different methods to get them. And so we have what we call mixed methods research that allows you to use a couple different things to get what it is that you need. Mixed method primarily refers to using quantitative research and qualitative research and combining them, but you can also use to say, to get what I need, I'm going to have to do an interview and I'm going to have to do a survey. That's all qualitative, but you're using two different methods, but what you have to do is you have to explain why you're doing that, what necessitated coming at that from both angles, and how is it going to benefit the research that you're doing that. One of the challenges you run into when you do too much is confounding data. It's like you get all this stuff and you don't know what caused what because you got too much. Does that make sense to everybody? So even though that's why I was very tentative on answering the question, because the answer is yes, you can use more than one thing, but the question is, are you able to justify using more than one thing, make it make sense, and then not allow it to muddy up your data or muddy up your information or make it less relevant because you pulled in too much. Fair enough? Awesome. Any other questions? And there are more details right here about the methodology. Ethical considerations. Like I said, we will be starting our review board process here at PO. It's going to increase some of the deliverables that you all have to bring to into your thesis course. But what it does is it makes everybody else around safe. It keeps everybody in line according to what is supposed to happen. But even bigger than that, it gives you a framework so that when you go out and you're working at your nonprofit agency or you're working at a school or wherever it is, and somebody tries to come in and study your kids, you now understand the process that has to happen for your kids to maintain, for their safety to be maintained. You now get to take this information and demonstrate in a professional setting the value and the importance of it, in addition to utilizing it for your own thesis process. Most of your research is not going to rise to the level of a full IRB. Does that make sense to everybody? Some of it will, but most of it won't. But what we will have in place are things to maintain the safety of those people. We have the tendency to think that, we're just doing things to be more restrictive and to make things more difficult. We're doing this such that we are able to actually develop this whole entire research component as an underpinning to what it is that we do here at PO. This is really, really important. You have to keep in mind that the things that change systems and the things that create dollars and efforts in the direction that they need to go is research. Here at Pacific Oaks, we have a very specific pedagogy and a very specific mission. And if we're not producing original research from this institution, we are not acting according to our mission. If we're saying that we want to focus on, how do we support vets better? And we're not like going out there seeing what culturally is unique for those men and women and what needs to happen to support their healing, we're not really doing what we say we are, who we are as PO. And so this is not just an effort to add something else to your thesis. This is an effort to really bring PO back to the forefront of education, but back to the forefront in this century of education. PO has had a long history of being an innovator in early childhood education, an innovator in all these areas. Now research and all these things are some spaces where we need to catch up. The purpose of the results chapter is to summarize the collected data. The first paragraph should briefly restate the problem taken from chapter 1, explain the objective of each experiment, question, or objective, point out important results, and present those results by table, figure, or other form of summarized data. Select tables and figures carefully. In a qualitative study, the results often include many quotes from participants who were interviewed. Make statements of the results without any implication, speculation, assessment, evaluation, or interpretation. Sometimes the results and discussions are combined in one chapter, but in general, keep the results and conclusions and discussions separate. Not in general, definitely. And so, we can talk here sometimes at school, we have meetings on retention. And we'll say, oh, from in academic school year 2013 to 2014, we had, 27 students drop out. They dropped out because of financial reasons, blah, 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 blah. What I've just done is I've mixed the two of those things. The results were the number of students who dropped out. The discussion is why they dropped out and what we may need to do to make it such that they don't drop out. Does that make sense, everybody? That's sometimes tough. It's hard to sometimes give a result without discussing it. And so you and your chair will have to work together to make your results section very fine-tuned so that it says exactly what you need it to say, understanding that you'll have the opportunity, to discuss all those things right here in chapter 5. Discussion. Refer to the hypothesis, objectives, or questions asked in your chapter 1. Assess the meaning of the results by evaluating and interpreting. Speculation should be reasonable, firmly justified, and subject to test. List the primary research questions from chapter 1 and answer them with the results. Cite several studies from chapter 2 for comparison and contrast with the result. Conclusions, recommendations, and references. Keep calm. It is just a thesis. Anybody ever see the movie Hitch? Oh, yeah. And so there was one part in the movie where the guy who was the comedian with Will Smith, and he was trying to teach him how to date and do the right thing, and he was dancing and he was doing all this, and Will Smith said, right here, keep it right here. This right here, this is where you live. For your thesis, this is where you live. This is, you can't, this is where you live for your thesis. Get information and be right here. Get information, right? So yeah, and so I'm not saying that it's keeping it simple, because even streamline can be very complex, right? Streamline can be extraordinarily complex, and there's nothing simple about it. But what you don't want to do is grab onto 25 different things for your thesis. This is not your life's work. It may be the foundation for your life's work, but you want to pull all those things in. If you got your book you want to write, you can do all those things and base it on your thesis. But you want to create a work that is doable, that you can finish, that is valuable, that has your voice, and that provides some sort of original contribution to thought. So yes, keep it streamlined. Keep it streamlined. Thank you guys so much, and I want to give you another round of applause for being here tonight. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. Good luck, everyone.